If we want to improve in any way, then we need to learn new skills and new habits. And in order to develop new habits and new skills, we need to change the connections in our brain. We need to increase our neuroplasticity. And if we want to increase our neuroplasticity, how much our brain is malleable and how much it changes, then we need to increase our levels of BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. So how can we increase BDNF? So the first tip would be fasting, or what also works very well is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting raises our levels of BDNF by 50 to 400%. And another reason why it also leads to neuroplasticity is that when blood sugar is low, our hippocampus, a brain region that is there for learning, actually becomes bigger. And in general, there are loads of studies that show that fasting leads to neuroplasticity. One mental illness that is related to neural atrophy, which is basically the opposite of neuroplasticity, it's when our brains actually become smaller. So anything that decreases symptoms of schizophrenia enhances neuroplasticity. And there are many studies that show that exercise actually decreases symptoms of schizophrenia and therefore enhances neuroplasticity. In a study with rats, these rats were split into two different groups. One group was in a normal cage, whereas the other cage had a racing wheel inside it. And it turned out that those rats that were in the group in the cage where they had the racing wheel, because they could exercise more, they had more new neurons. And then the third tip would be alertness. According to Stanford neuroscientist Andrew Huberman, we need 3 hormones for neuroplasticity. And every time these 3 hormones are released at once, it's inevitable that our brains actually become more plastic. And these 3 hormones would be epinephrine, adrenaline, and acetylcholine. And the 4th tip is about what we can eat to actually make our brains more plastic. Eating flavonoids is great for neuroplasticity. So flavonoids are these kind of things that colour certain fruits and vegetables. So the more colourful your fruits and vegetables are, the more flavonoids are contained in that fruit. In fact, 100 grams of fruit decrease depression by 3%. And with depression, it's exactly like with schizophrenia, that when you're depressed, your hippocampus actually shrinks. So just like with schizophrenia, if you lower symptoms of depression, that means you're also enhancing neuroplasticity. And a teaspoon of turmeric a day can lower symptoms of depression by 50%. Okay, so that is what is good for neuroplasticity, but what actually inhibits neuroplasticity? So high-fat diets in general lower BDNF, and also sugar. And if you don't have diverse gut bacteria, that is also bad for your BDNF levels. What's also good, apart from flavonoids, for neuroplasticity is vitamin B, E, omega fatty acids, folic acid and zinc. So I suppose if you were interested in how to increase neuroplasticity, that is because you want to actually be able to learn more. If that's the case, you can watch this video here on how to learn faster.